Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is January 29th, 2026. I've got a lot of tweets for you today, but before that I will mention that this is all just my own biased opinions. It's not financial advice. You do what you want to do. This is just some information for you based on what comes to me via X. So first, let's take a quick look at these charts. These are two things that I am kind of trading, so to speak. I've got gold here. So I've got this chart here. This is gold versus SUSD. That's where the prices look a little bit strange to you because this is an interest-bearing stablecoin. So I have this position set up on Carbon DeFi where I'm selling in this range and I'm buying in this range. I'm kind of looking at this a little bit and I'm wondering, can we get that much of a correction? I don't know. I'm going to think about this a little bit. If you think otherwise, let me know in the comments. I would be most appreciated. I'd love your information, your guys' insight into whether or not you think gold is going to continue to run, or is this a stall out point and it's going to come back down and start trading a little bit lower, something like what happens over here. I'm not sure. So anyway, so is that. So we've got ETH as well, which is looking not too great. I've been kind of bouncing off my own line here, so I bought down here, and then all of this time I'm getting nothing. I sold a tiny bit here, so it would have filled that back up, but I would have pretty much cleared that on that first candle, and then down to here, and now I'm kind of sitting around here not getting any trading fees on this spread for ETH. I might have to move again, but at least my Uniswap position is still earning trading fees, bouncing around. ETH looking pretty weak right now, but the sentiment is pretty good on X, and there's a lot of upcoming deals and stuff like that, and we'll talk about a little bit about it as I go through some of these tweets. So let's get right into these tweets. So the first one here I have is from Stacy Murr. So Stacy Murr here is I'm liking her tweets. She's taking these articles, reading them, and TLDRing them for me. So that's pretty nice. So she's like, my thesis on the perp DEX landscape is simple. At some point, Hyperliquid was a monopolist. 2, now the space is overheated with tons of new perp DEXs. And 3, when the hype fades, we'll see one main Hyperliquid rival close by rev volumes of Hyperliquid, and 2 to 3 tier 2 dexes and a dozen ghost towns. So I agree with her. Like people only really move to these other ones is because they want airdrops, right? And then they will just go to the one that they feel safest, and that's usually the one with the Lindy effect, right? And so forth. So there are some other key factors like Lighter is a ZK roll-up, so that can kind of convince people to go there. Aster's kind of Binance backed, and people might be biased towards using they like Binance, so they might go there for that. And all of these other ones, I've never heard of them. I'm not a perp DEX trader. And actually in 2026 I've promised myself I won't do any perp trading, so I'm not really too worried about it. But I do hold hype tokens, but I'm using hype EVM to provide liquidity to them and farm APR on Ramses. So there's that. But so I hope hype does recover a little bit more. I've got a concentrated liquidity position, something up around $60 or $70. So all the way from now, from 20 to 60. So it's a pretty wide range, but at least I don't have to play with it. I don't have to touch it and manually adjust it, especially since it's kind of recovering and stuff. But anyways, let's moving on. Here we have Coinfessions. I like some of their tweets, but most of them, I don't know, they seem unreal. But this one's kind of funny. He's like, I rugged my own Zora coin after Jesse aped it, and I feel good about it. So I think that's kind of funny in some ways. The Zora coins, I have a Zora coin, but I never posted anything on Zora. I just kind of was testing it and ended up with a coin, right? And I don't know what to do about it, so I don't use it. But I do think it's kind of I don't think Jesse cares that the guy rugged his coin, and I don't even know like how they rug it. Like you can't really rug it. The only way you can rug it is you can snipe it and then dump on the buys. So you can't really pull the liquidity, right? So as far as I know. But anyways, I think it's kind of interesting and funny, and but at the other hand, I kind of like that Jesse is aping people's Zora coins and trying to support that system on that ecosystem, right? So anyhow, let's move on. Here we have Alexander from Velodrome Aerodrome, and he's got something. Let me read what he says. He says, one of the most interesting questions in the DEX space is how long launchers and issuers tolerate uni dependencies, knowing that any moment the protocol could take 25% cut of their pool fees. It's a ticking time bomb, and for any who don't adapt. So if you look through here, there's a whole bunch of just what look like meme coins, just pointless coins. I don't know if they are, and they're kind of, a lot of them are on Uniswap. So it's a pretty common thing where a protocol's like, oh, we need some liquidity, where should we put it? Oh, let's just put it on Uniswap. Like it kind of happens all the time, and it's kind of normal. But what Alexander is saying is since they voted in the fee switch and upgraded I guess the fee switch was always there, but I was going to say upgraded the contracts, but they turned on the fee switch. They've selected individual pools, and they're taking 25% cut of those individual pools. Now I know there's a guy from the Velodrome Aerodrome ecosystem who has a Dune dashboard, and he's kind of showing you which pools are currently have the 25%. I'll try to find it again. Have that 25% cut already on them. So basically, every time, like a trading fee. So every time the fee, in Uniswap v3, if you provide liquidity, your fees get set aside in another contract, and during that setting aside in another contract, Uniswap has the power to turn on the ability to take 25% of those fees that are going to that, and they just use it to support their Uni token, right? And so people are should understand that this can easily happen. Obviously, if your pool has $6,000, they're just going to ignore it. But if you've got $21 million worth of volume, then they're going to consider it, right? Because it's you're using our product, we should be able to take our cut, right? And then I don't know, I think they're using it to buy back Uni token or something. I'm not sure what they're doing with those fees. But anyways, I agree with it. There are better options where things are more transparent and and predictable, whereas here you don't know when or if they will ever turn on those, and they don't need to reach out to you and tell you. They just turn it on, right? So anyways, there is that that habit of just put it on Uniswap, because the idea is that Uniswap is safe. It has the Lindy effect. It's safe. But nowadays, there are lots of DEXs that are built around the code bases. Maybe you can say they're forked of Uni, and it's pretty the DEX space seems to be pretty safe for the most part. But anyways, let's moving on. Here I have Protocol FTX. I've been thinking about doing a video on these guys. I'll probably do one maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try to get into the docs, see how I feel about after I read them. But I do think, since I noticed that they're part of the trustless state thing, that I'm going to talk about it a little bit when I get to another post here. But I do think these guys are worth checking out. So here we have, there's no better place to borrow against BTC and ETH than FX Mint. There's zero ongoing costs. So that means no interest APR, no borrow interest. Okay, average borrowing APY for 2025 was, so no ongoing costs. I guess the borrowing rate is less, 0.5%. So again, like I said, I haven't read the docs on this. I got to read the docs. And no liquidation worries, which is interesting. So yeah, I think I need to look at this, and I'll make a snack sandwich video on this as soon as I can, and then you can get a better understanding how this thing works as well as me. I think it's pretty interesting. Okay, so anyways, FX protocol. the only thing that's really strange to me is that they use this weird URL, which is fx.aladdin.club. I feel like that's part of why they the people are scared to use it or something. But like it's part of Aladdin DAO, it says here, but still like just protocol fx.xyz, and then people will feel I don't know. Anyhow, let's moving on. So here we have Gabriel Haynes ranting again. I love it when he rants. I'm just gonna listen to it. God damn you, Kane. So he's like, I joined your shitty trading competition, and he got rugged by your depegged stablecoin. So I'm not here to talk about Gabriel Haynes or synthetics trading competition, but I do want to talk a little bit about like protocols that like seem to be kind of still around but are not actively in development. Like I don't think synthetics is, I don't know, I don't use it. I'm not doing trading competitions, that's for sure. But I'm not like I'm kind of feel like it's kind of seems like a protocol that is kind of not like Kane and his team are definitely not hungry. So they're going to be slow to like push updates to worry about things, and the synthetic stablecoin is not doing so well. Like it's quite depegged. Like SUSD is 10,000 swapped through Rabi, which is like a DEX aggregator, and it comes up with like $7,400. So it's kind of like crazy, that their stablecoin cannot hold peg, especially like it's like one of the oldest decentralized stablecoins in the space that's still around, that hasn't like luna'd, like UST'd, like nuked completely. So anyways, you can check that out. Check out his rant video. I don't think it's actually him. I think he's just like relaying what someone else said, this guy Edward Mora, but maybe not, I don't know. Like you never know with Gabby. So moving on, here we have Tyler Reed. He's talking about CowSwap. And he's like, I just executed a big swap on CowSwap. The RFQ plus multi-solver setup locked in the best price across chains with zero front-end drama. Yeah. CowSwap is pretty nice now. Like, I don't think it's going to route through multiple chains unless you're doing a cross-chain swap. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that, but that's kind of the way I think it works. Like if you're swapping from like say Base to Arbitrum, and you're swapping maybe USDC to like ETH on Arbitrum from Base, then obviously it's going to go through some pools on both chains and stuff like that. But yeah, the front end, the user experience of CowSwap is fantastic. The only thing that sucks is sometimes you can't find routes even though they're there, right? Like you should be able to always swap and deposit into like a ERC 4626 volts, right? But sometimes they don't have it set up, and you're like, oh, I wish I could do it. Like you should be able to always swap from one coin into a standardized volt, right? But sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes there's a little bit of that problem, and then also it's only covering, I think, what is this, 4, 8, 10. It's only covering 10 networks now, and some of them are pretty like Gnosis, Lens, that Sepola is not even a full one, so it's only like 9. Linea, so quite a few. Some of these are not really high traffic, and then some of them are pretty high traffic. So I would like to see them add a little bit more network support. But yeah, I almost always use CowSwap first. I always check my quotes on CowSwap, but you want to check other places as well, just in case, especially if you're doing a big swap. But it's quite nice. So there's Tyler Reed. Moving on, here we have the other thing I wanted to talk about. So yesterday I shared a video of FX, CRV, USD, and Liquidity Bold stablecoin. They did an interview with a good friend of mine, a DeFi advisor at Leviathan News, and I shared that with you. And then after the podcast, I did watch through the whole thing, And here they are, well, two of them, Cyril and Michael from Liquidity. So Michael from Liquidity, Cyril from FX Protocol. They're doing another interview with this guy, Athena X. I don't know this Athena X dude, but he's from Nouns DAO. So they're trying to convince like some of these huge treasuries to just support the decentralized stablecoins a little bit. Like just move a little bit of your assets out of the Tether or Circle and put it into some decentralized stablecoins, and they're willing to help them and spoon feed them and give them a good explanation how it works. So you can kind of watch how they're pitching this to this guy, and this is like a 15-minute video, but I like both of these protocols. Like I said, I got to look at FX Protocol deeper and understand how it works, and for a fact, like I really like Liquidity, whether they sponsor me or not. I've been always shilling them because I believe in their ethos. I believe that they, the idea of permissionless and immutable stablecoins backed only by ETH, that to me is important. Okay, so they're kind of talking to this guy and maybe trying to branch out a little bit and kind of, add some, get the OGs and the DeFi people to support the actual ecosystem and try not to be so dependent on these centralized stablecoins. Like, I remember in 2021 we had this feeling. Everyone was saying, "Oh, the institutions are coming. They're coming, and they're going to buy our bags. We're going to pump our bags. We're going to be so rich. Everyone's going to be happy." And the institutions unquestionably are coming and have come, but they haven't bought our bags. And instead, what they're doing is they're building all these their own protocols that are centralized, controllable, and basically even some KYC'd by them. So I get there are protocols out there that need to have KYC factors and controllable like freezing, blacklisting functions in order for institutions to adopt them, because institutions are very risk adverse, right? Especially if it's like a pension fund or something, right? But they didn't come in and buy our systems. What they did is they just came in and put their own systems in it, and then we joined them. Like I don't want to say them and we, but it's kind of the truth, right? Like I'm not institutional. I'm not an institute. I'm an individual. But I go where the APR is the best, right? And sometimes those centralized, entities, stablecoins or protocols have the best APY, so I go there, right? So because why do they have the best APY? Because they're propping up their reward token, whereas the decentralized protocols, they need every protocol needs buyers, and if the buyers are institutions and they're buying their own coin, then it's very hard. Who's going to buy the decentralized coin, to prop up those rewards? Anyhow. That's kind of my idea there, but let's move on. Here we have Litosen. Litosen is, I believe he's part of the team of Fluid, but maybe not. Maybe he's just a Fluid advocate or a Fluid shill, so to speak. He likes Fluid and he talks about it a lot. And I've seen him getting arguments about why Fluid is better than other things, right? So I don't know how deep he is into Fluid, but here he is talking about his gold position. He's got this gold position, and it looks pretty big. So he's got, I don't know, 140,000. This gold position, whether it's his or not, he does say my. So he's got what is this? Like I gotta open it up. It's like $170,000 worth of gold stable coins, so Paxos Gold and Tether Gold, and he's used those as collateral to borrow this USDT. And you can see the USDT he's paying 4.2% interest on his USDT that he's borrowed. But however, these two tokens are being swapped and getting trading fees, and so it's saying he has a net APY of 0.4%. So he's literally getting paid 0.4% to borrow stablecoins versus his gold. that's it doesn't quite add up exactly, but because well, like if you think about it, like he's getting 2% on trading fees on this, but there's a lot more money than what he's got here. So he's borrowed like something like half, right? Or quite even less than half, right? So this, even though this 4.28% is higher than this 2.1%, there's a lot more value here being swapped. So if you don't know how this thing works, I do have videos on it, but basically his collateral, he doesn't care if his collateral is Paxos Gold or UXDT. He doesn't care the ratio. He just cares that those are his collateral types. So people who want to swap between Tether Gold and Paxos Gold, their swaps might go through this pool and change his collateral. But he's borrowed USDT versus it. He could even borrow like some USDT and USDC, and then he would get trading fees on this side as well, because he doesn't care what his in that case he wouldn't care what his debt is demonetized in USDT or USDC, and he could even probably get this net APY up a little bit higher depending on the borrow rates of those two tokens. But anyways, you can check this out. I think it's a pretty good set up. I had my Paxos Gold and Tether Gold in here before, but I've moved them over to Carbon to just get a little bit more control over the swaps and stuff like that. Okay, here we have a tweet by Bunny. So Bunny was exploited something back in September 2nd, and the exploit was pretty bad. And here we have this here. This is pretty interesting to me. I've got a friend who shared this with me, and he's kind of a little bit angry. So let me read what it says, and then I'll tell you why he's angry, and then I don't know the answer. So I'm going to just share that news with you. So he says, to our community, a WETH redistribution is now live for VE Bunny holders. So if you had farmed Bunny and locked it, then you can claim some of this 116 WETH. And it says, from liquidation proceeds is available to claim. As promised, the team addresses with VE Bunny allocations have been excluded from this distribution. So they're saying that the team is not, it's not a case of, you know, the team wants a cut of this money, because they've excluded their known VE Bunny holdings from this distribution. All Bunny tokens held by the Timeless Foundation have been burnt, sending them to zero. So, and then we're sorry about this, blah, 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 blah. Now, see, the problem my friend has with this is that he was an LP in WETH who was exploited. So he was a victim of the exploit, and he hasn't got his ETH back yet. But they're giving ETH to VE Bunny holders. So it's kind of like, yeah, of course, people who are VE Bunny holders are quite happy because they're getting money, right? But what about those guys who were supplying ETH to, I think it was like ETH versus ETH LPing, and what about those guys? Like, my friend, maybe he's missing something. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to dig too much deeper into this because I'm not a victim, and I don't want to spend all my time, you know, researching what they're doing. But it does bring into question the idea, like, who are the most important people who you should pay out first? So we have different users, right? We have equity holders, in this case, VE Bunny holders. We have the team, and we have liquidity providers. So who are the most important? Like in the case where there is an exploit, let's say everyone loses the same amount of money, and they're going to decide who to give the money back first. Or what they should do is they should give it to everybody equally, right? Or something like that, but maybe not. So let's say they decide who to give it back first. I believe the LPs are the people who should get the money back first, and then people who, like the equity holders, should be second, and then the team last. If there's anything left over at the end, then that's what the team gets. This is the way I kind of think of it, but maybe I'm missing something, maybe I don't know, but I thought I would share this and throw some ideas out there. Here we have Steven from the DeFi Dojo. He's got an interesting little anecdotal thing that I kind of want to talk about. So he says, 1 Roman pound, so 320 grams of gold, was worth 50 6,000 US dollars, okay? Under Augustus, so now he's talking way back in the Roman Empire. Under Augustus, 1 pound was worth 1,000 denarii. By Diocletian, so a further emperor, 1 pound of gold was worth 50,000 denarii. And then by Constantine, 1 pound was worth, 2.1 billion denarii. So obviously there's like a huge debasement of this, the value of these denarii coins. And he's just kind of showing you that that's kind of what happens with fiat. Like fiat is it's a broken system. We have the intelligence, we have the technology, we have the knowledge, and we have history that proves that, just massive inflation of your coin doesn't work, right? It eventually it collapses to the point. So then they say Constantine said, you know what, forget about the denarii. Let's drop a new coin. And they dropped a new soldierus, a new gold coin to replace the denarii, basically, right? So like if you hold your money in your floorboards in cash, it's probably the worst place to put your money. What you have to do is you have to buy assets. You need to hold assets because those are the things that go up in value. And what you want to do is you want to hold assets that are easy to trade, easy to get in and out of, so you can swap them, you can trade them. That's why I love crypto so much, because you don't need to find someone to buy your ETH. You just go to the Uniswap and swap it, right? Or what have you. So we have the technology and we understand inflation. If you don't understand inflation, you best understand what it means. It's not just rising prices. It's literally the government's making more money than they're increasing the supply of the money, basically. They're printing money. And that's usually because people don't allow them to tax as much as they actually need. So governments, they need a lot of money nowadays to run. Just insane amounts of money. So they can, if they tax them people all that money, then people will revolt, right? The taxation's already crazy, like up to like 50% if you're, a high net worth individual. So what do is they just print it instead to pay for all those like things that they think they need, or they justify their positions and so forth. But anyways, you can check through his little statement here. I thought it was interesting to see that like the Roman Empire has fallen, right? Now, did it fall because of the deflation or mass inflation of their denarii? Probably not. There's probably other factors as well. But I do think it's interesting to see that like history repeats itself here. Okay, so here we have a long post by Adam Livingston. I think this is pretty interesting, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about the banks, the institutions coming into crypto and not just buying our bags and stuff like that. So let me read through this. The banks are pissing themselves. They've just realized that some autistic crypto startup in a WeWork with 20 million in T-bills and a React front end is about to nuke their entire 12 trillion US dollar deposit base. Now, that's vague and cryptic, but let's keep going. By offering 4.9% on a stablecoin, while JP Morgan gives you 0.01%, and a debit card that expires in 2 years. But that's not fair. Every bank is lobbyist ever. Now the banking system, like this Godzilla made of soy, duct tape, and 10,000 or 11,000 physical branches, is whining to Congress like, this isn't fair. If people can earn yield on dollars outside the bank, they might leave the bank. Well, no shit. So like, I don't want to read all of it, but like he's got a good point. Like I use a neobank mostly for my TradFi stuff, except for like investments and stuff like that. Like I'm not gonna leave money in a cash, like a checkings account. Like you actually pay money to leave your money in a checking account, which is insane, right? You're losing money to the bank just for them to hold you. You have to pay them to give you checking and allow you to perform transactions. Like to me, it's crazy, right? But like I find it very like, of course nobody wants to to get 0.01% APR on their stablecoins or on their US dollars when they can get 5%, right? And then on top of it, you have countries like I live in Canada, and they what they do is they just ban these crypto projects from offering this APY to their users. Like I did a tweet a little while ago. If you download the crypto.com app, which I'm not saying you should, please do your research, decide whether or not you want to use it. I'm just using this as an example. If you download that product in a country like in Asia, for example, like maybe Singapore or Taiwan or something like this, you have these options where you can deposit your stablecoins into DeFi. You can deposit them into an earn, which is like crypto.com. We'll take care of it and pay you your interest. And it's all like roughly, 3 to 5% APY. Now, if you download the app in Canada, then you actually don't have any of those options. You cannot put stablecoins to work. It's not allowed. They're not allowed to offer this service to the public, the Canadian public. And to me, that's crazy. It's not like the code is not ready or they haven't developed this idea. They're offering it to other countries. It works. It's just a matter of the government of Canada says, no, you can't do that because our banks don't want you to do it. And that's bullshit. Like the banks, the government, they're supposed to work for the customers and the citizens. It shouldn't be the other way around where the banks and the government tell the citizens what they can and cannot do. Now, of course, there are some cases where it's obvious, like you can or cannot like kill people. You can or cannot steal my car. That's different, but like you must use our banks to get your crappy APR in order to keep our banks afloat. No, that doesn't make sense at all, right? So you can read through the rest of his post. It's pretty interesting, but it's mostly basically that, like we have better systems now. Like crypto is better than the banking system. Crypto doesn't need physical locations. You don't need a physical location anymore. I use a neobank. There's no physical location. I don't need to go in there and talk to someone, line up, drive my car there. That stuff doesn't need to happen anymore. So all of these physical locations are now, if you are a property owner, like a commercial property owner, maybe you think differently than me and you want those physical locations, but that's just the way it is. Like, why don't we just rip down those physical locations, plant a bunch of trees or a solar power farm or something? I don't know. Like, we don't need like the banks, like when in the 90s where there were banks and that's the only way you could kind of put your money somewhere and invest in things and do things and stuff. We've passed that phase. Okay, moving on. Here we have Sherlock Holmes, a nice little meme. He's like, January FOC decision, no idea, don't care, we ball. So here we have like the chairman, right? Chairman Powell just kind of chilling, dancing, and I commented on this, and I kind of wanted to share it. And I was like I don't really like his decisions, and of course, there are some things that he's done that are questionable and stuff like that. But he like what I said here is that he must be chilling now. Dude was a cortisol incinerator, cool as ice always. Perfect, no, but chill. Like whenever you've seen him like talking and doing interviews, he was always so chill and relaxed and just like logical sounding and just like almost robotic, like static, right? And I just wanted to mention that like he's probably who the hell cares? Like he's old enough to retire. He's probably got a nice bag of coin and he's just chilling, right? So I think he doesn't really care. And he's just like, maybe he I don't know if he's got kids or not, and maybe that's a considering factor for his stress level. Like he's worried that whoever's going to take over his Fed chair is going to be a puppet of Trump or something like this. Okay, we got two more for you. Here we have Castillo Trading. He says, I'm not sure how true this is or what's going on, but spreading for awareness, actually wild read with the evidence. So you can read through what he's trading and what he's spreading. And I'll just read the headlines to it. So, Binance stole my life savings by manipulating time. Here is undeniable video proof. And then, so Binance manipulated liquidation timestamps by 3 minutes to avoid fulfilling their own compensation promises. So that's pretty interesting. And I don't know, like, again, I'm obviously Casio trading. I'm even less aware than him because I haven't read this article. But, like, it's kind of getting to the point where, you know what, guys, just use a DEX. You know, if you want to trade with leverage, use one of those like perp trading dexes, and at least, you know, for the most part, they're immutable, or at least maybe they're not immutable, but at least they're on chain, and they can't, if they do something like this, it's like on chain, right? And people will call them out on it, like so. You know, I remember a little while ago there was like some automatic deleveraging stuff going on with people on perps, and they were angry about that. But I don't know the result of what happened from that. But it was like very easy for people to like be like, look, this is what happened on chain. You know, you honor your side of the deal, what have you, blah 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 blah. So yeah, I don't know why people are still like putting their life savings on Binance and trading with it. Like, what are you doing? Like, anyhow, moving on. Last thing here, we have Legion. Legion is a place where you can KYC and do ICOs. So it's like ICOs versus the prediction market. Here is a long article on basically about that, like how to, who's that tagged? Thought I saw someone tagged. Anyway, so yeah, so you can kind of read through this. Prediction markets in the world of tokens, accuracy, fallacy, over optimism versus token performance, token performance ranking, ICO. So basically, like these guys, their job or their product is to allow people to participate in ICOs. So here they are doing some research on ICOs for prediction markets and how they what kind of happened, and sharing this information. I think it's quite good. This is something I plan to read, but I haven't participated in a lot of ICOs, but I have participated in some in the past, and I do, like, I'm very picky about it. I'm not just like, some people are like, let's participate in them all, and the ones that moon will make up for the ones we lost. I would much rather participate in a product I believe in, and not at a size where I need to immediately dump those coins as soon as they get on the market to recuperate my initial investment, or to initial investment plus profit and then hold a tiny bit after. I'd rather just buy a tiny amount and become part of that community, and hopefully that product finds product market fit and generates revenue, right? So anyways, that's it for today. I hope this is interesting and useful, and thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.